calling in from in chat. But hello, everyone. My name is Tori Miller-Liu, and I'm the president and CEO of the Association for Intelligent Information Management. And you are now attending a webinar that's dedicated to one of the pathways at the AI+IM Global Summit. Today, we're going to be talking about the information management and information governance pathway. This is a pre-conference webinar, and we'll be talking about what that means in just a moment here. But before we do that, I really want to encourage you to check out, using this QR code that you see on the screen, the summit. It's a brand new redesigned event. If you've been to the AIM conference in the past, just forget everything you knew about AIM's annual event, because this is a very, very different event. And it's going to be held in Atlanta, March 31st through April 2nd. And if you want to learn more or register, we encourage you to check out that QR code. So the summit itself is very, very interactive, and it's a strategic event that explores the intersection of artificial intelligence and automation with information management. And our goal for today's conversation is to help you prepare for the conversations that you're going to encounter on site in Atlanta. So we're going to be outlining the important role that intelligent information management and information governance play in the AI era, and talking quite a bit about that pathway at the summit. But we'll also be giving you an overview of the event and giving you some foundational concepts around intelligent information management. Now, if you are for some reason not able to attend the summit, I hope you are feeling a really strong fear of missing out. But I also hope you register, because we still have a few seats left. But I think even if you're unable to join us, you're going to find value in today's conversation. If nothing else, you'll get some really interesting takeaways about the pathway. And I hope it also gives you some motivation to join us next year. So just before we get started, a couple reminders. If you have any thoughts or questions, hey, Peter. Good timing. If you have any thoughts or questions, please chime in on the chat or use the Q&A feature. And I'll be checking the Q&A for any questions that I can pose to Ryan and Peter. This is going to be a very, very fast-paced 45-minute conversation. So we are going to try to get to as many questions as possible, but please do use the Q&A. That's the fastest way for me to see your questions. Closed captions are available, and they can be turned on through the Zoom tool panel. Please note that we are also recording today's conversation, and we are going to be providing a recording to all of the attendees. It'll also be available on demand. After the webinar is complete, we hope you take a moment to take our feedback survey. We really value your feedback on what this experience was like, and it helps us improve future webinars. All right, without further ado, I want to introduce our two industry experts that we have on the call today. We have Peter Locker from Shell and Ryan O'Connell from M-Files. Peter Locker is a certified information professional, and he's also an experienced information management professional with over 20 plus years of experience. He has a track record of achievements in intelligent information management, business consultancy, and Microsoft 365. And currently, he is the product manager of IM practices and behaviors at Shell. Ryan O'Connell is M-Files specialist that combines his technical expertise with passion for solving complex business challenges with a proven track record of delivering innovative solutions. And he really excels in bridging that gap between technology and business needs. Now, both Ryan and Peter are going to be on site in Atlanta speaking and part of the event. So we're very, very excited to hear from you both today. But before we do that, Ryan, I want to give you an opportunity to just introduce M-Files, who is generously sponsoring today's webinar, but also a sponsor at the summit. So Ryan, could you tell us a little bit about M-Files, and also just briefly talk about why M-Files was particularly interested in sponsoring this pathway in particular?
Appreciate it. Yeah, so M-Files is a knowledge work automation platform, really kind of lends itself to sort of the intelligent document management layer of organizations that we can be architected to be sort of at the integration at the center of your information management processes. Why we're excited, one of the major things is that we're really recognizing how important information management is to organizations, whatever vertical you find yourself in. And so we believe we've got a great, strong platform in that space to help sort of reduce all those challenges when it comes to that information overload or that heavy information processes you have, to really be able to streamline the solutions that you're using and make that information more available and make it easier to get to be able to find those insights and make good decisions about your business. And that's our focus. And so organizations like yours and having these AIM conferences, it's exciting for us, and we really want to be present and be able to contribute as much as we can because we think this is really in line with how we're helping customers today.
Oh, that's great. And I think a little later on, both you and Peter are going to be talking a bit about findability and accessibility of data. So I think you're kicking us off well.
Jumping ahead.
Uh, So, just to give folks a sense very briefly about what the summit is, this pathway, the Intelligent Information Management and IG pathway, is part of this fully reimagined event that focuses on unstructured data in the AI era. So, we've really designed this event to provide participants with practical advice and resources to help them improve information management programs, but also figure out how do I leverage unstructured data for AI projects, for automation projects, and how do I improve those implementations? It's a 2.5 day program that features workshops, interactive sessions, really lovely, thought provoking keynotes, and networking. This year, we are also debuting peer to peer learning with our cohorts. The participants are being grouped in industry specific cohorts that are led by skilled facilitators, and it's a place where you can share knowledge and get some peer to peer support. This is just one of 4 pathways. You can check out the website for more details on these, but the other pathways include automation, AI, and change management. So today we're really going to be zeroing in on intelligent information management and IG. But before we do that, I think Ryan and Peter, I really want to just establish a baseline of what we mean when we're talking about intelligent information management. So Peter, I'm going to start with you, if you don't mind. How do you personally define intelligent information management?
Yeah, I think that's a great question, Tori. I think 10 years ago, John Mancini wrote a article on overcoming the information chaos. I think that was the name, and he was describing there what we needed to do to overcome that. And we're 10 years further along, and with all the pace that is happening with innovations, automations, AI, we have to be more intelligent. That we have to be more intelligent to look at our information. And so, if you look in perspective to Shell, then um, we're very good in doing compliance. That's just a commodity now. But what we really want to do is add value to our businesses, our Shell businesses, making sure that they can use the information in their organization, and and it's not a commodity to use it. It really, really adds value. It adds value to the bottom line. And I think that's where the intelligence term comes in. So we don't do information management anymore. No, we do intelligent information management, and we add value to what you want to achieve bottom line.
Oh, I
That's
love
how I
that.
would. That's what I would like to say that. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to jump around a little bit with our
Yeah.
questions.
Yeah. Sure. Sure.
Ryan, based on what Peter just said, I want to throw the next question to you about how do you find that balance between value and compliance? Because I know you encounter that pretty regularly as a conversation with some of your clients.
We do, and I completely sympathize with a lot of organizations because there is this constant pressure that we know that there is this regulatory balance that you need to have, and it's tough to get that balance because you don't want to over restrict access to information. You don't want to make it limiting to the people in your organization when it comes to accessing the information they need to do their job. So it's a challenge. You want to be compliant. You want to be able to address those requirements to make sure that you're audit ready. But at the same time, you don't want that over restriction to take place where you're now kind of making it difficult and harder for your users to access the information that they need. So it's kind of hard. It's easy to say, hey, well, I need to I need to be secure and I need to lock all this information down because I have to because I've got these requirements. But it's also keeping in mind that your knowledge workers have to access that information. So the more obstacles you put in the way, the longer it takes for them to get to the information they need to be productive, to drive their productivity and be more resourceful for the organization. So it's difficult, and I'll admit there's no one answer for any organization, but it's really thinking about how I can meet the requirements, but still give the appropriate access and still give my users the information they need to be successful. So it's a hard question to answer, but ideally it's trying to find different pathways, maybe for different departments. But it's important to know that just locking it all down is not the answer. It's really trying to find a way to be secure, but also to make information available to the right people.
So
And to
follow-up
add
question.
on,
Yeah, go ahead, Peter.
can I add on there, Tori? So
Please.
what you see in my business, in my company, is that this morning I was talking to the ethics and compliance person, and we want to do a refresh of our IM strategy. And basically, he was saying, I want to have 80% compliance in your strategy and 20% value. And then
Hmm.
the week before, I spoke with my business, and he was saying, I want to have 80% value coming out of my information and 20% compliance. So they're looking in a different perspective there, and it's my role to get that IM strategy there, that we will have a consensus of what are we going to do in the coming years, how we're going to look at value, how we're going to establish the compliance baseline. So yeah, that's how my business is looking at it, and but that's my playing field.
So, Peter, and this is a question for Ryan too, because
Hmm.
I think the value proposition of information management practitioners is changing in the AI era quite a bit, and I think it's goes a little bit beyond even finding that balance between compliance and value, like you're doing at
Hmm.
Shell. So, what else is happening with your role right now? How is it evolving to kind of fuel AI within Shell?
Um, Again, it's the value and compliance story a little bit, sorry.
Yeah.
So the AI needs to be governed. Yeah, so we need to have checks in place, controls in place to make sure that we do the right thing with our AI capabilities. But at the other hand, our businesses see the opportunity and they want to run with it. And also there's a certain balance there to understand, okay, what can I do not to impact our license to operate, so to say, in Shell, and what can't I do in that respect. So, and that's where an information management professional can help. If you then look at education, yeah, we need to understand those structures. We need to understand, we need to talk the business language if you look at AI, but we also need to talk the more functional and technology language of our IT colleagues.
I'm
So
noticing
we're
this
really,
theme of
yeah,
the practitioner serving as a bridge and focusing on balance. It's really interesting.
and very difficult.
Yeah, very hard position to be in. Um, Ryan, from your perspective, I'm kind of curious about how you see the practitioner's role evolving, but also how do you see the relationship between the practice of intelligent information management evolving with AI and automation?
So it's a really good question because that's something we're confronted with on a regular basis. That level of concern or questioning coming from customers, and it's really thinking about what makes AI effective, and it's sort of thinking about it. And we talk about it at M Files with sort of we call it the three C's. It's thinking about having the proper connectivity to the right resources and the right information. So maybe it doesn't make sense to have your AI connected to everything, but really thinking about what's valuable to your organization. And then when you're doing that, kind of coming back to our previous question about the balance between security and compliance, it's thinking about that level of confidentiality. So I've given AI access, I've connected it to my systems or the correct systems or the systems that I find the most useful that I want my users to have information gleaned from, but it's making sure that then I'm applying that to my role-based level type of security. So the right people are seeing the right information. I don't want everybody to be able to see the information in all these systems. So I need to think about that level of security and compliance, that confidentiality. So when I'm connected to my systems, I'm ensuring that only those people that should see certain information are able to access it. And then the curation of that. It's I need to be able to access the relevant but up to date information. So that's still the other challenge. We talk about information chaos. If I'm not putting information, if I'm curating the information in a way that makes it effective, I may be getting a lot of information that I just simply don't need and just isn't going to help me. And if it's out of date or it's the wrong version, then I'm not going to be able to be productive because I'm working with the wrong information. So it's making sure that we're connected to the right systems, we're connected to the right information, applying that sort of security layer to it, so I can and make sure that I'm compliant and the right people are seeing what they should see, and that information is curated in such a way that people, when they access it, they know they're accessing the relevant things they need to be able to do their job.
Yeah, so in that sense, is more and more important, and that's always been the Shell story, so to say. You need to have the business, IT, and legal working together to
Mhm.
create that structure, to create that baseline and framework, especially in the era of AI. You just need to start working really together to understand the value and compliance you need to achieve. And it's not only the tool; it's the people using the tool, the people curating the data. It's yeah, I think it's a very exciting time.
For sure.
And Peter, I'm kind of curious from your point of view, and I love the three C's because I love alliteration, Ryan. So when we're talking about connectivity, confidentiality, and curation, those are responsibilities that I think you can spread across data management, information governance, IT, as you said. So, Peter, we have a keynote panel at the summit focused on how a lot of these various practices related to those three C's are converging. What are you seeing right now in the industry in terms of how data management, information management, IG, records management are converging?
It's again a very good question, Tori. And what I see, if I look at our organization, there's a split between data management and information management. So our structured and unstructured data world is separated, and we manage that separated from each other. But one of my goals in the next 2, 3 years is really to start moving those two worlds together. Because if you want to utilize fully of what AI is capable of now, but also in the near future, I think there's no structured or unstructured world anymore. It's just data that we want to use for our own benefit, for our compliancy, but also for the value adding stuff. So that's how I see it, Tori. I hope that gives a little bit of an answer on your question.
Yeah, it does. That's so interesting. Now, Ryan, from your standpoint, when you look at the technology, are you also seeing that sort of merging between structured and unstructured data? Are the lines blurring?
That, yeah, the lines are blurring, and it's blurring out of necessity. And so we are talking to customers today. So before we would really have those conversations about all their structured content, but it's becoming, again, that a lot of these processes are information heavy. So it can't all be structured. And so the conversation has now really been just about information. And the assumption the customers are making is that when we're having these conversations, we're talking about structured and unstructured data. So yes, the lines are blurred, and organizations like M-Files and others out there really need to think about it in both ways.
So how is that changing the tech stack, Ryan?
Well, it's really involving the tech stack getting deeper. So there's more technology out there, and again, it depends upon where your maturity level is as an organization, but it's whether it's data storage or the data processing side of it, and then the integration to all of that. And then, of course, then there's the physical content, that the actual documents, things that align with a lot of that unstructured information that can come in, and then aligning analytics to that. So there's the stack is deep, and it really continues to grow every year. There's some new technology, or there's some new compliance requirement that drives that technology stack. So it's pretty vast, and I guess I kind of avoid naming names of different products out there, but ideally the tech stack is growing, and it's pretty can be overwhelming for some organizations.
And we found that in our research last year. So the state of the practice report, we found that the number of systems just devoted to information management, so your content management, your ECMs, your document management, records management, were multiplied by five, like every 2 years or so. So in 2024, we found that it was on average, most organizations, regardless of size, had at least 11 systems, or I think it was like 10 and a half systems devoted to information management, which it's kind of nuts when you think about it. Like, then where's the center of truth? Do you have any truth?
And that is, I think, the primary point of some of those challenges is that I can't have five different proof layers here. I need to have one. There can't be five versions. There has to be one version of the truth. And I think that's some of the challenge as organizations are investing in upgrading software and making sure they're future ready, so to speak. And some solutions really excel well in some areas and not in others. So you find yourself investing in more of the technology stack because one is a little weaker and one is a little stronger. So it's growing. And so it's really looking for the thing that drives your business. And so it's looking for that centerpiece, or maybe it's one or two centerpieces that can be integrated and work together. So one of those can be sort of your layer of orchestration that gives you that visibility into that one version of the truth. So sometimes it's a lot of different technologies, but really finding the right one that can help join all that together to be that one centerpiece, so you can have that one landing spot for the information that you need to do your job.
And I think this goes back to the point earlier that especially connectivity and curation, I think is essential skills and practices that I unfortunately, for better or worse, Peter, I think land on your plate and other information managers' plates, because who else is going to do it?
Right.
So we've kind of already hit on, I think, a couple of the problems that we as practitioners of information management are hoping to solve at events like the summit, because we've talked about connectivity and curation and confidentiality and security. Peter, let me turn it to you to talk specifically about what problem you're hoping to solve while you're at the summit.
If you look from a Shell perspective, we have the volume of information we have is just so huge, and we need to start managing that, and we need to make sure that we start to delete, we start to keep what we really need to keep, and otherwise we cannot really utilize what AI can help us with going forward. And so what I would like to get from the summit is brilliant ideas from our peers. That's one. Two, talking to the different vendors that are out there that all have a solution that can help us. But I would like to hear their use cases and their scalability. And thirdly, I just want to meet the people that are also on this call and have a discussion and a coffee, understanding where their pain points are, trying to see where I can help them, can coach them, but also getting input from them, because I don't know all the things that are happening in the industry. I don't see all the things, and there are so many bright people out there that can really give me a little bit of insight of where they're moving to, what their strategy is, how they see AI moving forward, how they work with their data and unstructured information. So that is really what I'm looking forward to.
Oh, I love that. I love the idea of approaching events like this with sort of that learning mindset too. That's really nice. So Brian, let me turn the question around for you, because you talk to a lot of different clients from across industries. What problems are you hearing bubbling up to the surface right now?
Yeah, so we've kind of touched on a little of that. It's that, again, their business. It's always that discussion. Well, we're going so fast, so we don't have time to fix the little things. And then, unfortunately, as you're growing so fast, those little things become big things, and it's those big things really kind of break down into pretty common categories. And a lot of the problems we're hearing is that it's still those siloed departments. So you've got all these different systems because you needed them to grow, you needed them to develop your business. But there's a lot of information in all these different systems, and some of them are within different silos and different departments. They're not integrated. So there's a lot of challenges, and people and again, coming to these events, which is great because you can talk to those customers, and you're hearing that, some of the challenges that we're helping customers overcome is, again, breaking down those silos, finding systems to get that interconnectivity. And again, just because you're kind of breaking down silos doesn't mean you're breaking down compliance. So it's working with the correct systems and integrating them in appropriate ways, so that way you can still be secure. And then that helps improve the access. If you don't have those silos, people can get to the information they need when they need it. And that starts building on efficiencies, and then with those efficiencies, how can I tie automation to that? Don't do manual tasks. Manual tasks are slowing you down. It's impacting your productivity. So it's where can we then bring in automation to help solve some of those manual tasks? And then, of course, we know that since COVID, the pandemic, really the remote and the hybrid work experience is the most common. So it's making sure that the systems that we have can reach and have global access. So there's a lot of, I feel bad. There's a lot of challenges out there, a lot of things that organizations need to think about. But yeah, it's making sure that we can kind of break down some of those those silos and address some of these challenges and really think about future proofing a lot of your systems and your process. And I think kind of looking at it at one layer at a time is certainly going to help. And that's what we're hearing.
Okay, you distracted me with a shiny object. So I have to ask, and this is a question for both of you. When we're talking about silos, what's the bigger problem? Is it people or technology?
I can go first. If you said, Ryan, where would you put your money? And the challenge is typically people. It's people are usually, unfortunately, the first layer of uh, of that obstacle, and then secondly is the software. I think people feel that level of control. If it's in my department, if I'm the only one that accesses, and I think we just need to make people realize that there's safety in breaking down those silos. It's not the opposite of that. You shouldn't feel insecure about your role. You don't have to own everything. So that's how I've been seeing it. Again, working with a lot of customers over the years, I've really seen it as starting out as a people challenge, but then there's always systems that can contribute to that as well.
What are your
I have to
thoughts,
agree
Peter?
with you, Ryan. I have to agree with you. If you look at where the journey that Shell went through in the last 14 years, um, it's easy to change a checkbox in a system, but the impact of changing one checkbox in the system, well, in Shell, it impacts 80,000 people. Uh, I mean, if you look at how we use certain systems are used by everybody in Shell. So
Right.
in that perspective, yeah, you need to be cautious with what you're doing. Technology goes quicker than I can change myself or my colleague. So you just have to be cautious with that and keep in mind that the ways of working are changing when you're changing the system. Um, so I think the biggest part of my job was the change management. So I had a change management team, and we did all kinds of engagements, quick reference guides, everything, and happy to talk to people when I'm in the summit on where we went through and how we did that. And maybe your budget is not as big as my change team budget, but still I can give you some top 10 things to do or top 5 things to do that will at least help you in your organization to make the people change a little bit faster.
So I know Peter, you and I have talked a lot about maturity of information management programs and information management strategy. Is change management or adoption part of that maturity
Yeah,
assessment?
it is.
It is.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So we have
And
different kinds of dimensions there that we measure, and one of them is adoption. The other one is governance,
hmm,
um, and
what else is
technology
in
is one
that
as well. But, oh, that's a good
technology?
technology, innovation. Um, I already said governance. Sorry, you over asked me there.
Sorry. But maybe you can talk a little bit about um,
Yeah,
the maturity
yeah.
model that you're using at Shell and how you're kind of gauging maturity right now.
So we have a yearly process where we check with our business information managers on where they are in their maturity.
Hmm.
And we give a questionnaire of only 30 questions. And with those 30 questions, we make a nice spider web that shows them where they are, that shows them where they are compared to other businesses, and that shows them where they want to be on those dimensions. So, and with that spider web, we go and work with them together to make an IM plan for the next year, looking at which activities we can do to raise the maturity. So that's really in a nutshell what we're doing there, and it helps us in steering the IM maturity in the right way, making sure that we do get budget for our initiative, and we also get the sponsorship from the business itself.
Hmm.
Um, Making sure that top down and bottom up, we have that sponsorship, and that helps us in the change journey.
And in those conversations, I imagine that you're having to navigate that balance again between compliance and value. So how does
hmm
that conversation show up when you're talking about maturity?
Um, it depends a little bit which business you're talking about. If you talk to a legal or finance function, they might look more to the compliance part, but when you
Mm.
look to a downstream function, they probably would look more at the value part and the innovation part, and less to compliance. Um, but it's still important for them, because it still impacts their license to operate.
Oh, that's fascinating. Now, Ryan, for M files, do you do any kind of assessment of maturity when you're talking to a newly onboarded client?
So we do, and we have similar tools. We have a maturity model survey that we bring customers, walk them through, because I think it's important. Uh, because a lot of times it can be almost like that deer in the headlights. It can be very overwhelming when you're sort of trying to move towards AI and information management, and you really haven't thought about it much. So we do a survey process. We walk the customers through that as well, and very similar, builds a map, and it helps frame the conversation so it doesn't feel so overwhelming. In that, with again, we think about that in alignment with how our platform works, and really thinking about doing it in phases, so they don't feel that we have to boil the ocean, that people have to cancel their vacations, and when it comes to implementing a platform like ours. So we do, yes. Long answer, yes. We we work with our customers, build out a roadmap, walk them through our maturity model survey, and really make sure that it aligns with again that business solution that they want to be able to deliver on.
What I really like about both your responses about maturity models is that there doesn't seem to be anything judgmental or punitive about your models. You both use the word roadmap, map, phased approach, which I think is really lovely and probably helps with change and management. Um, when you take that kind of phased map approach, does that actually help with buy-in?
I can say that I've found that we've worked with a number of organizations. I'll tell a story. I was working with a customer out of Miami, and we were referred to, like three people kind of down the chain referred us, and it was this organization. I won't name them, but they had been engaging with customer with solution uh, companies like M Files before, and kept hitting the same wall, and it was this paralyzing feeling that they had to do everything a particular way,
Hmm.
and it really kept kind of shutting them down. It kept stopping the conversation. So we took, again, our approach, looking at the maturity model, and it really helps them understand how we can do it in phases, so that way it then helps them to translate that internally, and put that into sort of a messaging that delivers it to the executive level and further up in the organization, so that way it seems natural, and that it seems doable. So that's sort of the thought process, and sort of how we found success with that. And I'm not sure if that answered your question or not.
Yeah, it does.
Mm.
Peter, what are your thoughts? How are you using that maturity model to, I guess, alleviate concerns that Ryan
It
pointed out?
it's all about storytelling. So
Mhm.
that's how I look at it. So it helps me in building the story for the different businesses, or it helps me in making an enterprise IAM story of where we are, where we want to go to, what the conflict is, why we're doing that, and what the end state should be. And that story I need to tell on different levels in the organization to get that alignment and get that buy-in. Otherwise, the project will not be successful, or the program.
And when you're talking about those outcomes, how do you how do you measure the effectiveness of following this maturity model or investing in information management in general? How do you gauge the return on investment?
In our IM plan, we we plan different activities and small or big projects, but we do measure them through a value case. So we make a summary afterwards, and we make sure that is part of our storyline, sharing our successes with with the business and the IT stakeholders.
I like
Yeah.
that. Ryan, what about from your perspective? How do you think about ROI and proving that there's value in investing?
Yeah, I mirror some of that, and I'm I'm really big on talking about what was when we're talking about where we are and in conjunction with where we want to be. It is crucially important. I know some organizations kind of don't really allow themselves to think a little bit about the past, but it's really important to think about where you are, especially in your progress forward. But seeing it, you got to have KPIs, define your metrics, define where you want to be, and be comfortable being uncomfortable, talking about maybe how miserable some of your processes are and how disconnected they are and how negatively it's been impacting your business. People don't want to talk about it at the executive level. It's hard to say that sometimes, but it's super important, because if you can't demonstrate or talk about and have the metrics on where you are today, then when you get to a certain point, it's really difficult to tell people we've had successes. So it's important to know where you are, know how good or how tough things are, so that way when you put in your roadmap and you present your plan, and as you're moving through your phases, you can declare victory. Hey, we've got a 70% increase on how we're finding our information now, because before we were disconnected. It was taking two people, 8 hours a week just to find the correct information for our processes. So to be able to look at that in conjunction to where you are and to be able to declare victory, so that way that helps drive the success, it helps drive the adoption, and it helps drive the executive layer to help want to support this effort and keep going and expand it in the business. So metrics are important, KPIs, but yeah, I really want to emphasize it's okay to talk about how awful things are and to bring that up just to show how well things have moved forward. So I probably, could have come up with a little more anecdotal information there,
No,
but
no,
really
I like that because I think you're also recalling what you both said a moment ago about the importance of telling stories
Mhm.
around like this was the pain point, this is how it was solved. So, question then for both of you. We talk a lot at AIM about how you build better business cases for investing in information management. What have you found in the last 12 months to be the most effective stories that have helped you sell investment in information management or helped you advance some roadmap for information management maturity? Peter, why don't we start with you?
I think there was somebody typing about the stick, using the stick. So we use the stick a lot, and that's the compliance stick. So if people are in red, they're not compliant, they need to change. But that is not the way forward anymore. So what we do now is we do user experience studies. So we send out surveys to end users, understanding what their pain points are, how we can change the tools they're using, just to make them feel more happy using the tools, but also making sure that they don't need to click 20 times to get somewhere or to find something. Making sure that they get a more efficient way of getting their information. And that helps them free up time in doing other things that are more important. So that is one aspect. Another aspect is, and I go a little bit back to the value story, is that a value story can be very simple. So we automated a way of capturing our compliance scores. So we used to do that in an Excel sheet, and there were 12 AIIM compliance managers that were sending these Excel sheets out and then consolidating it. And now we just do it in a Power App with a nice dashboard. So we took out say 5, 6, 7 steps in the way they're capturing their information. And we could just calculate how much time that saved, so how much money that saved as well. And it's just a really simple calculation. It doesn't need to be a full-blown business case or
Yeah.
value case. It can be just very simple.
Oh, I
And
really like that. Yeah, because sometimes it's really more about like the simple, quick proof. Like here's quick evidence that you saved all of those information managers' time. Ryan, from your perspective, what's a business case that's really helping you sell information management right now?
So I kind of coined so I like to relate it to what's important to people at the human level. So I always kind of align it with things like it's 12:30. If these processes, I need to go to lunch. It's 4:30 on a Friday, and it's really thinking about building a case and talking about how the automation and working differently So I'm not panicking at 4:30 when the door opens and my VP comes out. It's, am I going to get one more thing dropped in my lap here? It's okay. So it's thinking about building sort of processes that can streamline how you work, make your job a little bit more less manual. So when you get those requests and you get those things dropped in your lap at 12:30 or 11:55, that, hey, I can find what I need. I can get the information. My systems are interconnected, and really kind of demonstrate. That's what I try to do in my demos, is really frame that conversation around things that matter to people. It matters when you can finally get up and go to lunch. You don't want to have to work at your desk the whole time. You don't want to have to work past 5 o'clock on a Friday. It's really being able to demonstrate and tell stories and show them. And again, using ROI calculators about how you do it today and how you do it tomorrow, how you do it once you've implemented a new information manager document management system. But it's tying it to that emotional piece of it, and really using that as the model for people to be able to kind of understand and see it in those terms.
Oh, I love that. I love the idea of really personalizing it to the person you're telling the story to. So let's talk about how you both are personalizing your experiences and planning your experiences for the summit. Peter, what session are you most excited about at the summit right now? And you can't say your own. We'll just have that as a rule for both of you.
Ooh, and I didn't look at the agenda, right?
Peter.
But I'm sorry. Um, so I would have liked to say my own session, but no, I cannot do that. To be honest, I like to wander around where the vendors are, because you can listen in to what discussions people have with the vendors, what solutions are out there, because those developments are going so quickly, and I cannot keep up with it. So that would be my most well, it's not really a session, but that's what I would really like to do. And then what I normally do is I don't plan it in advance. So probably when I'm in the plane flying to Atlanta, I will look at the agenda and make a conscious decision in which five or six I would like to go. And I stick to that agenda. But when I'm there, probably my perspective will change talking to vendors and others, that I might switch to other items. Yeah.
I like that. And quick plug for our mobile event app. It is now available, and you can go in there and actually check which sessions you want to attend and what you're interested in. Um, Ryan, slightly different.
Please look at the agenda, right?
Yeah,
Guys, look at
look at it in advance. Plan your time.
it.
Ryan, M-Files is doing both a workshop and a session, and that's kind of new this year to have workshops and sessions. So, how are you all thinking that these two different programs differ? What can people expect from a workshop versus a session?
Yeah, so that's a really good question, and really what we're trying to frame out is really sort of one of our session is really more designed around sort of a use case, a success story, talking about the journey a little bit and what was overcome. So it's really kind of talking about and understanding how an organization has kind of gone through some of these information management challenges versus sort of the workshop, which is more directed at sort of internal thinking. And again, we're going to go through and conceptualize a lot of what again we think about when it comes to information management and AI, in alignment with discussing things like how you can go through our survey, our maturity model, and so talking about it sort of in sort of a reflective sort of way internally. So the workshop's kind of working and thinking about and using information that we're sharing in alignment with some breakout sessions to kind of talk through some of your challenges internally so we can collaborate. Session really more kind of hearing our use case and hearing how a customer has found success developing their systems and using our platform.
Oh, that's excellent. And Sasha put in the chat for folks the description for both M-Files session and workshop, so you can kind of see those differences. I will also mention that the workshops start on March 31st. There's another set of workshops on April 1st, but I encourage folks to go to the March 31st one, because if you go to that, lunch is included. So get some food, enjoy, meet M-Files. There's so much to look forward to at this summit between the cohorts, the workshops, the sessions. I am truly very excited to see both Peter and Ryan in Atlanta. I want to thank you both for joining us on this webinar today. It was a fast-paced, super fun conversation, and hopefully gives folks listening in a sense of what they're going to experience in Atlanta. So thank you both, and I hope to see everyone in Atlanta.
Wonderful. Appreciate it.
Thanks
Thank
all.
you.
Bye.
Bye
Bye-bye.
now.